Hey guys, RoxBox90 here with another video on EDH, but this one is going to be a best of video. So I'm going to pick my favorite generals, commanders, from each color combination that you could have in Magic. And these are my personal favorite generals, and there's a number of criteria that they go for, a couple of honorable mentions. But yeah, that's the idea. So the criteria I have for the generals that I'm picking are, first, that it has a functional utility ability. It's not just a creature, just a plain creature with no ability, no function besides for just being a fatty. So if you're doing just because you want to have a general, you like the flavor or it's whatever, my choices tend to stem from ones that have abilities, even if they're Voltron aggro or whatever, still. Second is that they are fun, or in my opinion fun. They're not like super stacks generals, not super competitive for the most part. Basically that they're fun generals to play with and against. And the third criteria is the flavor, meaning my personal choice of why I like it, in terms of the art, in terms of what the card represents, whatever. So those are my criteria, and let's hop into it. So for the Pent color commanders, my personal favorite general is Scion of the Ur-Dragon. So my friend put up his deck, but to be honest, Scion is just both in terms of his ability. He's a massively cool dragon tribal. He has his ability, he's basically morphing himself into these dragons from your deck. So flavor-wise, the art is awesome, the ability is awesome. He is literally the avatar of all dragons. So dragon tribal makes him awesome. And as a general, he's functionally, for his utility, a very good commander to build your deck around and with. For Seda colors, which is blue, green, red, so enemy colors, enemy tricolors, I guess, my favorite is Animar, Soul of the Elements. So I know, all you Riku lovers, I know, Riku is a big deal. I personally don't like Riku so much because I find that while his abilities are really flavorful and awesome and really cool, and the art is awesome, he's not necessarily the most functional general for me. And to be honest, Animar Soul of the Elements is I think pretty good. As a commander, he's a good commander in his abilities and what he does, and I personally prefer him if I had to pick a commander for these colors to make. I think he's fantastic. So for Ana colors, blue, green, and black, we have the Mimeoplasm. Damia, I know, has a following and so on, but Mimeoplasm for me, I'm a big Reanimator person. I love Reanimator decks. And Mimeoplasm is all about the graveyard and all about reanimation, all that coolness. The flavor is just sick, so cool, so much fun to use because you don't have to just use your own creatures. You can use everybody's creatures, so you get crazy combinations, crazy graveyard shenanigans and fun. And rarely do I find, unlike other super competitive generals, rarely do I find that he truly owns the game competitively. Because if you build a deck just about him, in the most competitive of formats, he's still not as good as some of the best Voltron aggro generals. So I like that about him, that he can still be powerful, beater, fun to play with, but not the most insanely competitive. So he's just fun, I find. Necra, which is a really cool name. White, green, and black. I picked Gave, Guru of Spores, mostly because this is when I built the deck. I helped build my brother's deck with, and I just think he's so cool. And, you know, I don't tend to run token stuff, but I think he's just phenomenal. The art is so fantastic, flavor-wise. He's, like, badass. His flavor is so cool. In terms of fun, he's super functional. He's super utility. Any deck that uses Saprolings and tokens, you get to do all sorts of fun stuff with. When he hits play, no one panics and it's like, oh my god, Gave's out, what are we going to do? So I love that about him. And in terms of his utility, his abilities are very dynamic. You can do a lot of stuff with him. And not only that, he's a pretty strong creature. So I like Gave a lot, and that's my pick. DEGA, white, red, and black, is Kalia of the Vast for me, because Kalia is... all Kalia lovers out there, Kalia is crazy cool. Crazy awesome. Very, very flavorful card, in that she is the epitome, both herself, she has like an angel wing in a corner, demon wings, dragon wings. She's the leader of the dragons, angels, and demons, and her abilities are fantastic to build a deck around. Not particularly dynamic, so to speak, because the deck it's pretty obvious. You get the cards, you play them. But overall, she's pretty fun. She is a pretty good competitive general, but I think overall she's pretty fun, flavorful, and cool. So I pick her. Raka, which is American colors, I guess, blue, white, and red. I would pick Numot. I know you have cards like Zedru, but I personally don't like so much the group hug format. So Numot is an awesome beatdown. He's one of the coolest, I think, dragon pictures. Like, he's like, oh, I'm just awesome, sitting up there on my spire. Yes, he blows up lands, but what I like about it is that it's 2 target lands. So if you're using him, it makes it interesting in multiplayer because it's up to 2 target lands. So you don't have to blow up the lands if you don't want to piss people off. You also can play people against one another. It's actually, ironically, in my opinion, a better multiplayer group huggy sort of general. Not in that he's best friends with everyone, but in that it's a good multiplayer card. He works well, I think, in the multiplayer format. So he's good. Jund, red, green, and black. So I picked Sequar, the Death Keeper, who is an Orc Shaman. Not Kresh, even though a lot of people like Kresh, but I've always had a thing for Goblin Orc people, and rarely do you see a commander who owns the field this way. And he's pretty good. I like that he's himself pretty powerful, but he can make a deck heavily aggro, which is Jund, and it's fairly dynamic in that the creature hits play with haste. So both the non-token creature is put into a graveyard, something hits play, so things can activate. It makes his utility very powerful, and I think he's an unusual pick, but I like him a lot. Grixis colors, blue, red, and black. I pick Thraximunder, just because I know Cedrus is an honorable mention here for sure, but Thraximunder is so badass. There's like, he's just incredible. Yes, he's a little bit more of just the like beatdown general, but I just think he's fantastically cool. Flavor-wise, he owns. And you could build a deck around the sacrificial element and the Voltron. Naya, red, green, and white. I picked Mael, the Enema, mostly because she embodies Naya colors. Naya colors are very much heavy aggro, lots of big creatures and beatdown, and the art for her is fantastic. She's so flavorful, and it's like she's very fun. She makes games fun when she's in it. Rarely is she like the hater commander on the field. So I think she's really cool. Esper, I picked Mariek Berit, whatever, I don't know how to pronounce her name, but who cares? I know there's a lot of usual picks like Sharum and Zur and stuff, but for me, Mariek is really Marieku. I don't know how to pronounce her name. Whatever. You guys can tell me how to pronounce her name. She is an interesting commander to pick because you can play around with her. She steals creatures and stuff and can destroy them when she's untapped, but if you have ways of manipulating her tapness and not tapness, it makes an interesting dynamic on the board, and I think she's kind of an unusual general. I personally think she's very interesting. Band colors, everyone knows I love Rafik of the Many. I tend to view him less as the Voltron card, which everyone hates, and more as the guy who's like the backup. Like, I am the knight in shining armor coming to save the day, but I'm not actually going to go stab the enemy. I'm going to have my lion kill it. That's kind of how I view him. He hits play, and I use him as a support troop. So, support trooper, he makes my other things crazy. So, I like him a lot. Flavors, fantastic. He's fun to play with. You see my decks, and yeah, I like him. Golgari, the green and black. This is now going for all you Ravnica people. They're coming back, so these are tentative to change if they make. I'm not including any Return to Ravnica stuff because it's still tentative and not out yet. But Golgari is the first of green-black. So I picked Savra. She is very unusual in that she is very flexible, that she allows you to gain life, lose life, hurt yourself, hurt them. It's a very interesting manipulation, and you can build very interesting decks using her abilities. In terms of her art, she's gorgeous in terms of her art. It's just so, it's both epic, and it's also dark and evil, and I just think she's super cool. Simic, green and blue. I picked Edric mostly because Momer Vig ticks me off all the time. So Edric is a little more fun on the fun side of things. More flexible, quote-unquote friendly, and definitely interesting one to build a deck around. I like the semi-group hug effect, and also that his ability is not too overwhelming, so you actually can use him in your deck, and people won't freak out. Izzet, Niv Mizzet, of course, is the boss of these colors, without a doubt. I think he's great. Boros, red-white. I know you guys are all thinking I'm going to pick one card, but I picked Bazandra, because for her, she's, I think, more fun than many of the other really aggro, annoying generals out there. She messes up a lot of control decks, and she makes a very interesting multiplayer dynamic, because she's pretty powerful, but she also makes the board state a little complicated, because you really have to work with the player who's using Bazandra, since she can mess up everyone's the best laid plans of mice and men. Bazandra makes go wrong, Commander, and I think she's pretty good art too. Definitely, she's the Battle Seraph. Pretty awesome flavor there. ORZHOV, white-black. I picked Teysa. Teysa's complicated. I had a thing for her back when the books were still around, because she had a pretty heavy hand in the books, particularly Guildpact. And Teysa, I think she's fantastic. Very interesting commander to use. Also more utility oriented, so you can see why I picked her, and the artwork is pretty sick. Selesnya, I picked Sigarda. This is because I love Sigarda's flavor more than anything, although she's a ridiculously powerful Voltron general. Crazy powerful. But really, the main reason I picked her, and I would pick her to use, is because flavor. GRUUL, green-red. We have Stonebrow, Frozen Hero. He's a little less dynamic, so to speak. He's a little more just of the quote-unquote beatdown variety, but I like him. I like him a lot. I think he creates interesting beatdown decks, so maybe he'll be an exception to some of my rules, but I like him. RAKDOS, Olivia Voldaren. She's also a little more utility-oriented, but she also could be a pretty scary Voltron as well, because she can boost herself up pretty quickly and steal stuff. So very interesting vampire, if you want to build a vampire tribal, for example. I think she's pretty good. Dimir, we have Surku, blue-black evilness. He's a mill guy, so maybe Una could potentially be a better pick, but I've got a foil Surku back when Ravnica was being pre-released, so I've always had a thing for Surku. Azorius, we have Hannah, ship's navigator. I like Hannah from the story. Kind of sad all the stuff that happened to her. So having her card where she's kicking the ass of Phyrexians, I think it's pretty awesome. Colorless, we have Karn. I don't like the Eldrazi as commanders, so Karn is next best, and he's kind of interesting. It's very hard to build a good Karn deck, but I like Karn in the story, and I like him here. White, I like 8.5 Tails, kind of because if I had to pick, I'd want to pick a commander who's a little more versatile, more utility-oriented. So 8.5 Tails is pretty sick this way. And flavor is just gorgeous. Black, Drana, Kalastria Bloodchief. You guys see my deck, you know why I love her. She's the epitome of evil, and I like it. Blue, I picked Vendilion Clique, because Vendilion Clique is Vendilion Clique. It's very dynamic. It has flash. It lets you play from the commander thing. They never know when you're going to flip her out. And you can use her to interesting effect with ETB stuff and control magic. So not overly annoying, definitely more on the fun side, but at the same time, kind of, I would pick her over some of the more super control generals in blue. Green, I picked Omnath. You guys all know why. I have my Omnath deck, and my favorite green general. Red is Norin the Wary. I know you guys are all like, Heartless Hidetsugu, or I don't know, some other red guy. But Norin the Wary, I saw this amazing primer in MTG Salvation, and ever since then, he would be the red general I would pick if I had to make a deck. He's hilarious and awesome. Crazy awesome. Anyway, so that's my list of generals for commanders for every single color. The one I would probably most likely pick if I was building a commander deck in those colors. So hopefully you guys get a broad variety, see some cool stuff. If you guys disagree or have your own personal favorites, please let me know your favorite commanders in any given colors down below in the comments. I'm always happy to talk about it and to check out what you guys think. So thank you for watching. RoxaBox90 signing out. See you guys next time.